Today we're going to look at perhaps the best way to learn the pentatonic scale to get you flying up and down the fretboard like a pro. To do so, we're going to be using the 3-octave approach. So our setup here is going to be position 1 of the minor pentatonic rooted on A at the 5th fret, string 6 goes like this. Ideally you would know the intervals in that pattern, but the key for today is knowing where the root note is. So it's on the 5th fret, string 6, and the 7th fret of string 4. So there's a 6/4 octave in there. In turn, falling out of the pattern, but this note here, the root, an octave of that can be found on string 2 at the 10th fret. So I've gone down 2 strings and up 3 frets for a 4/2 octave. With the octaves established, what we're going to do is then group the strings in pairs. Why we do it in that way is that each of these string pairs are a 4th apart. What that means for us is that any pattern of notes on one of the string pairs can be repeated in the same way on the other 2 in the higher or indeed lower octaves. So in that way, if we take the first part of the pentatonic box, the root 3, 4, 5, I can put that immediately onto the middle strings from the root 2 frets higher. And I can do that again on the high strings 3 frets higher. Putting that together. And descending. That's great, but not quite what we want. We're going to have a look at position 1 once again on the middle strings this time. So we have this pattern of notes, which is a flat 7 into the root, flat 3, 4. So flat 7 root, flat 3, 4. With the 3 octaves established, what I can do is play that same sequence of notes in each of the 3 octaves. So the middle, the high, or indeed the low. This is the setup then for our master pattern. We're going to be coming off the flat 7 with finger 1 and not the root. What that gives us then is flat 7, root, flat 3, 4. At this point, we're going to then slide into the 5th of the scale, whole step slide. And then we have the repeating of that pattern. Slide into the 5, and again. So this master shape, as it were, is coming off the flat 7, whole step to the root, flat 3, 4, slide into the 5. In Guitar Blueprint, I call this the 2-3 sliding minor pentatonic, and I consider it part of the connective tissue, a pattern that works across the string sets, linking up the different caged forms. Recommended fingering for this, I use finger 1 and finger 3. 1, 3, I slide on finger 3, and again 1, 3, 1, 3, slide on the 3. Then I have 1, 3, 1, 3, slide, and I'm up to what is the 5th of the scale. As I descend this, I tend to do so sliding on finger number 1. So 5, 4, slide down to the flat 3, root, flat 7, 5, 4, slide down to the 3, root, flat 7, 5, 4, slide down to the 3, root. So that is the pattern getting you from this G right down here up to the E on string number 1. And any sort of melodic idea or even a riff-based idea that you've got going within that pattern, you can play it through each of the 3 octaves. So that's the pattern, and what I recommend you do when learning this is you move the root notes. So I was at A here, the next day maybe you go to D, work up a 4th. So I'm in D, G, C, but then there are certain root notes where the pattern is not quite as suitable. Like F, for example, I can't get the flat 7 with the F root note. I could do it at the octave and that will work, but it's not ideal. If we come back to the A root note and consider the sequence from string 5 onto 4, we had flat 3, 4, slide 5, flat 7 root. Now that sequence of notes we can also find on string 6. And we can find the flat 7 root on string number 5. So this once again is using the string pairs, but instead of coming off the flat 7, we're going to be coming off the flat 3. So instead of setting up back here, what I could do is work upon the root and then bring that finger 1 up onto the flat 3. Then I use finger 3 on the 4, slide to the 5, flat 7 and root. So the movable pattern this time is this. That will work through each of the 3 octaves. And what you find with that is you're going to be ending then on the root note on string number 1. Sliding is done the same way, using finger 3 between the 4th and the 5th, and that is a good approach if, for example, you're dealing with like an F root note. So to add into the visualization, I recommend that where possible you come from the flat 7 root, so like the first shape, and then you slide into the root note on string number 1 and descend the second sequence. So what do I mean by that? So we're back onto A, we're going to come off the flat 7, through that first set. At this point, I would then slide onto finger number 1 in the flat 7, end upon the root. Then as I descend, I'm going to take the second approach. So I end on the flat 3. Okay, so it's a slide into that flat 7. Put that all together once again. Slide. Slide into the root. Now what this is doing for you, if you're only really confident with that box 1, is that it's giving you a nice way to branch out. Like with that slide into the 5th, it gives you these notes right here. And you can link them into everything you know within that position 1. Fretboard charts and tabs are available to all members of my Patreon group. You can help support the channel and get exclusive bonuses each month for as little as $3. You can find out more about that with the link down below. And as I mentioned, this forms part of the syllabus of Guitar Blueprint, my comprehensive guide to fretboard fluency. You can find out more about that in my online store with the link again in the cards or down below. Thanks for watching, you practice well, and I'll see you next time.